The untold secret of self-made entrepreneurs. They weren't born special. They weren't born rich. They weren't even the smartest in the room. Yet somehow they broke free. They built lives where they call the shots, make their own income, and answer to no boss. The world calls them self-made entrepreneurs. But here's the truth no one tells you. Their success wasn't luck, or talent, or timing. It came from one secret that almost no one talks about. And once you understand it, your entire view of money, work, and success will change forever. The common illusion. Most people spend their entire lives chasing jobs that keep them just comfortable enough to never leave. You work for security, not freedom. You trade time for money, not realizing that time is money, the one currency you can never earn back. From childhood, we're taught to seek employment, not create value. To wait for opportunities, not build them. To obey, not to think differently. But if you look closely at every self-made entrepreneur, from the street vendor who built a logistics company, to the retiree who turned a hobby into a global brand, they all have one thing in common. They stopped waiting for permission. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young graduate named Adiaha Khan. She had a good job, or so she thought. Every month she got her salary, paid her bills, and started the cycle again. But deep down, something burned inside her. She saw people less educated than her, making 3 times her income from side ventures. One night, after another long day at work, she whispered to herself, "Is this it? Is this what I worked so hard for?" That question changed everything. Because every self-made journey starts with one uncomfortable question. Ada started small, baking snacks during weekends and selling them to colleagues. It wasn't about the profit at first. It was about proof. Proof that she could create something from nothing. And that's the untold secret. Every self-made entrepreneur starts with belief before success. The world tells you to wait until you have capital, skills, or time. But those who make it start with conviction. They don't say, "One day I'll try." They say, "Let me test this now. Please, pay attention to me." The biggest difference between employees and entrepreneurs isn't talent, it's mindset. Employees ask, "What do I get paid to do?" Entrepreneurs ask, "What problem can I solve and get paid for?" That shift, from task to value, is everything. Because once you stop selling your time and start selling your results, the entire economy looks different. You begin to see opportunities others ignore. You stop waiting for promotions and start promoting yourself. Here's what no one tells you. The journey to being self-made is rarely glamorous. It's full of mistakes, self-doubt, and late nights. But every failure is a classroom, and every setback is tuition for your freedom. Because understanding failure, not avoiding it, is the next step in becoming truly self-made. Most people think self-made entrepreneurs have it figured out from day one. But the truth? They don't start with confidence, they start with confusion. They don't start with clarity, they start with chaos. Because the road to becoming self-made doesn't begin with success. It begins with loss. Loss of comfort. Loss of certainty. Loss of the illusion that a job will always save you. That's when you start asking deeper questions. What if I built something of my own? What if failure wasn't the end but the beginning? Perhaps Ikenoa's story may help at this point. He worked 12 years as a bank officer. Stable income, great benefits, but one day, the branch closed. No warning. No backup plan. In 1 week, he went from comfort to crisis. At 45, he thought it was over. But that job loss became his greatest gift. He started a small, inexpensive casual restaurant popularly called Buka. People laughed. Today, he manages 15 spots across 3 towns. What changed? Not the opportunity, the mindset. He realized in his pain, I was never earning security. I was renting it. And when you rent your security, someone else can evict you. Failure hurts. No one likes to talk about the nights when the account is empty, the days when your family questions your sanity, or when friends move ahead while you're starting over. But here's the paradox. Those moments of pain sharpen you in ways comfort never can. Comfort protects your ego. Pain reveals your potential. Every self-made entrepreneur has a chapter of pain that the public never sees. They failed in private long before they succeeded in public. Is there any learning loop? It is usually said that the person who fails the most usually wins. But because every failure gives feedback, you learn faster than the ones waiting for perfect conditions. Think of failure as tuition fees for your success. Some people pay it early, others delay it for life. But eventually, everyone pays. The question is, will you pay with regret or with lessons? Every self-made person learns to take controlled risks. Not wild gambling, but calculated experiments. They test, adjust, improve. They don't wait for full certainty, they create it by moving. Students test skills on weekends. Workers test side hustles after hours. Retirees test hobbies that could pay for vacations. That's the real formula, not quitting your job overnight, but learning to build income streams while staying alive. The goal isn't reckless freedom. The goal is sustainable independence. Every entrepreneur hits a breaking point, that moment when everything goes wrong. You'll face rejection. You'll lose money. You'll question yourself. But here's what separates the self-made from the defeated. The self-made don't run from the pain, they study it. What is this failure teaching me that comfort never could? When you treat failure as information instead of humiliation, it becomes your silent business partner. Because pain teaches you two priceless skills: adaptation and self-belief. And once you have those, no economy, boss, or policy can cage you again. So if you're watching this, and you've failed at something before, congratulations. You're already closer to being self-made than those who've never tried. Because self-made entrepreneurs aren't fearless. They're simply tired of being controlled by fear. That's where the true secret begins to unfold. Not in the pain, but in the rebirth that follows. Every self-made entrepreneur has a moment when everything collapses. The product fails. The client disappears. The account balance hits zero. When the world stops clapping, you finally start listening. To your instincts, your lessons, and your truth. This is where ordinary people become unstoppable. Lesson 1. When most people fail, they rush to fix the money problem. But self-made entrepreneurs fix the identity problem. They ask, who do I need to become to never be broke again? That's where the rebuild starts, in the mind. Ikenna, from our earlier story, stopped seeing himself as an ex-banker. He became a business owner who understands finance. Adyaha stopped saying, I sell snacks. She said, I run a food brand. Notice the difference? The language changed first, then the income followed. Your business will never outgrow your identity. Lesson 2. There is a saying that you can't get rich renting out your time. The self-made realize this quickly. They stop chasing harder work and start chasing smarter leverage. They use technology. They build systems. They hire part-time help. They create digital or repeatable products. A student who teaches graphic design on weekends. A retiree who rents out event chairs instead of attending events. A worker who automates his side business online. All of them are creating leverage. That's how you escape the hamster wheel without quitting your job overnight. Leverage is the bridge between survival and freedom. Lesson 3. Self-made entrepreneurs don't chase motivation, they build systems. Because motivation fades. Systems don't. They schedule creative hours. They automate invoices. They track results like scientists. Success isn't magic, it's repetition. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You just need a process that works even when you don't. And when your system starts earning while you sleep, you stop working for money and start working with money. Lesson 4. In business, everything compounds: skills, reputation, consistency. The self-made don't chase viral wins. They chase daily growth. One new client per week. One improved skill per month. One refined system per quarter. It doesn't look dramatic until it explodes. Because consistency, not genius, is the true multiplier. Think of a farmer. He plants today, waters tomorrow, and harvests next season. That's how business works. Quietly, then suddenly. Lesson 5 is something nobody tells you. No one becomes self-made alone. Behind every entrepreneur is a network. Mentors, partners, peers, or even online communities. They don't just share resources, they share belief. When you see someone like you succeeding, it rewires your brain. You realize, if they can, I can. Find people walking your path, not talking about it. Because proximity to progress is contagious. Your circle can either compress your dreams or multiply them. Now you know how self-made entrepreneurs rise again. By rebuilding identity, creating leverage, and compounding small wins. But here's where things get interesting. Once they start building momentum, they begin discovering something even deeper. That money was never the final goal. Freedom was. Purpose was. Legacy was. Because success is never just about income. It's about impact. There's the illusion of arrival. People often think success feels like fireworks, loud, bright, celebrated. But for most self-made entrepreneurs, success arrives quietly. No standing ovation. No sudden applause. Just a moment of stillness, when you realize you've built something that finally works. The income flows. The pressure eases. And then comes the silence, a question whispering in your head. Now what? Because once survival is solved, purpose takes the stage. And purpose doesn't shout. It whispers. There's the hidden cost no one shows on social media. Freedom has a price. When you're self-employed, there's no boss to blame. Every mistake, every delay, every failure rests on you. You're the CEO, the marketer, the cleaner, and the accountant, all in one. And sometimes it's lonely. Friends may not understand your obsession. Family may not grasp your vision. You'll work in silence while others scroll in noise. But in that silence, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear your own voice. That's the sound of ownership. And freedom without discipline is chaos. That's why so many who leave their jobs fail in self-employment. They mistake freedom for leisure. But the self-made know. Discipline creates freedom. When you structure your day, you control your time. When you control your time, you control your income. And when you control your income, you control your life. It's not glamorous. It's consistency. That's the real power of being self-made, owning your rhythm, not chasing others. At some point, money stops being the motivation. You realize that true wealth isn't what's in your bank, it's what's in your mind and who you've become. The self-made reach a stage where they stop asking, how much can I earn? And start asking, how much impact can I create? They hire others. They teach what they know. They give back to communities that once ignored them. Because when you've built yourself from nothing, helping others rise isn't charity, it's legacy. That's the quiet joy of freedom. To live your purpose on your terms. But let's be honest, the self-made path isn't always joyful. It gets lonely. You'll question your choices. You'll miss the simplicity of old routines. And yet, that loneliness isn't punishment, it's preparation. Because solitude gives birth to clarity. And clarity is the compass of every entrepreneur. When the noise fades, you'll realize the person you were becoming was always hidden beneath the one you were pretending to be. You see, being self-made isn't just about escaping a paycheck. It's about reclaiming your power. To build, to fail, to rise, and to define your own meaning of success. And now, as we approach the final part, we'll uncover the real untold secret. The one thing every self-made entrepreneur eventually discovers. It's not money. It's not freedom. It's something far deeper. Every self-made entrepreneur eventually discovers the truth. Money was never the finish line. It was just the mirror reflecting who they became. When you've built something from the ground up, you stop chasing wealth for validation. You start building for meaning. You realize the business was never the goal. You were the project. The business only revealed your courage, your resilience, your evolution. That's the real untold secret. And the ripple effect. One person choosing to build instead of beg, that's how revolutions start. When a student turns a skill into income. When a worker launches a side hustle. When a retiree transforms a hobby into cash flow. Something powerful happens. They inspire the next person. And that person inspires another. This is how families break generational limits. This is how communities rise without waiting for rescue. Self-employment isn't selfish. It's service, to your potential, to your family, to your future. Let's get real for a moment. No one is coming to save you. Not the economy. Not the government. Not even your degree. But the good news? You don't need saving, you need starting. Start where you are. Use what you have. Sell what you know. The first income stream isn't about getting rich, it's about getting control. Control gives confidence. Confidence fuels growth. Growth creates freedom. That's the flywheel of self-made success. At the end of every journey, the self-made realize. Legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's who you lift while you're here. Your children, your peers, your community, they're watching how you handle your dreams. When you choose to create instead of complain, you give permission for others to do the same. That's how nations grow. Not through policies, but through people who decide to try. So maybe the real secret isn't in the millions earned, but in the millions inspired by your courage to begin. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop telling yourself it's too late, too risky, or too small. The first step won't make you rich, but it will make you free. Build something today. Test an idea. Offer a service. Sell your knowledge. Do it scared. Do it imperfect. But do it now. Because the world doesn't remember those who waited. It remembers those who started. This is your time to rise. Not someday. Not next year.